Today I will be giving you my rating and review of Timberline Mountain Ski Resort in West Virginia. I've been to 40 different ski resorts in 13 different states. I was a snowboard instructor and I've also competed in snowboarding competitions. I've ridden West Coast powder. I've also ridden in Canada in negative 15-degree temperatures, and I live out here on the East Coast, so I have shredded East Coast slopes at nice, which is basically just ice skating. So with that said, today I will be giving you my full review of Timberline Mountain. So a quick little history lesson on Timberline. This is actually the resort that I grew up essentially learning how to ride. I have been to other resorts before Timberline, but when I was really getting into snowboarding, this is where I would go, and really got into it back in the day. When I was in college, you used to be able to get a lift ticket for $25, so it made it like the easy choice for me and my buddies when we wanted to go riding. Unfortunately, they had very poor ownership, very poor management. So between tax evasion, between them just literally not running the resort, like they wouldn't blow snow, they wouldn't do any maintenance to anything. They had such poor maintenance on the resort that actually one of the chairlifts collapsed while the resort was open.
A lift malfunction at an area ski resort leads to 2 people being sent to the hospital. Nick Farrell was there and he has this report.
Timberline officials say around 9 a.m. Saturday morning, this ski lift called Thunderstruck malfunctioned with about 200 people on board.
Having a bunch of people getting injured, and eventually through all this poor management, poor ownership, all this stuff, they actually ended up filing for bankruptcy, a few years back in 2019. And then in 2020, the resort was purchased and the new ownership has been dumping literally millions of dollars. They've dumped over $10 million into the resort, improving the chairlifts, improving the lodging, improving the bar, grill, all that fun stuff. So there's been quite an overhaul, and I had not been back to the resort since all of these updates and changes. So the last time I went there was actually in 2018, New Year's Eve. Me and my buddies rented a house and we're like, we're gonna go, it used to be like a New Year's tradition of ours to go riding on New Year's Eve. So when we went back in 2018, going into 2019, we actually just hiked up to the top of the mountain because there was legitimately not a snowflake in sight. All right, so we actually drove down the street to Canaan and rode there, which I can review another day. But yeah, so I haven't been back since because it was such a sad day. I mean, it was so crazy that after that trip, a few weeks later, I found out that they were actually filing for bankruptcy and officially it closed down. So me and one of my buddies speed raced to Timberline, and because we're they're probably throwing away a bunch of stuff. Sure enough, we got there. There was a massive dumpster outside of the resort with every single rental board, boots, bindings, skis, everything was just in a dumpster. And so we went dumpster diving, got a bunch of different boards, bindings. I got this cool whack, well, not cool whack, literally a bunch of snowboarding wax and irons and everything. It was all just sitting in a dumpster. I don't know if that's illegal, but I did it anyways with one of my buddies. So anyways, and then we just gave all the boards to people. I already had my own snowboard, but anyways, it was cool. But not cool because the resort closed and it was a dope resort from it was cheap and easy to go ride at. But anyways, got a bunch of stuff. And so that was the last time I've been there, was going there and dumpster diving. And so fast forward to just a few days ago, went there with my buddy Jim, and excited to give my updated review of the place, because back in the day it was definitely the cheapest and just kind of the most lax resort you could go to. Definitely not that today. It's way less lax, way more corporate, but it is nice that it's up and running and functional. So the mountain has an elevation of just over 4,200 feet of elevation. It's got 2 lifts, which I'll talk about here in a second, and one magic carpet thing that takes you to the top of the bunny slope. It's got, I'm doing air quotes, 37 runs, because you know how it goes with any of these resorts. They claim 3 runs are really one, or I should say 1 run is 3 runs, because they'll be the top section, bottom. Anyways, but they say they got 37. It's more I'd say 10, but 37 runs and 100 acres of skiable terrain. Now, when it comes to kind of my ratings and reviews of the resort, I'll kind of break it down into a few different sections. So once again, with the new management, the kind of bar, grill, rental area, the whole, it's kind of, I guess, what do we call it? The ski lodge area at the bottom of the mountain is crazy nice compared to what it used to be back in the day. Night and day difference from the old kind of rundown, poorly managed lodge to what it is today, which is obviously very super nice or everything like that. But I will say, super nice does come with a price because it is way more expensive than it used to be. You used to be able to, I used to get a lift ticket for $25. Also, it used to be so poorly run that everyone that was like working the skis, like chairlifts and everything, I'm not even joking when I say this, the whole place would like reek of weed because all of the employees would just be like hotboxing the little like ski, the like chairlift hut thing. Like nobody checked passes. So like it was very common, like at least for us back in college, like we would go the first day, we'd all buy our passes for $25. Literally no one would check it. The employees would be like, why'd you even buy it? Like, you can just ride for free here. And so then we would just get the rest of the weekend for free because we would just buy the one pass and never pay for another one. Not like that anymore. It's all buttoned up, kind of like a West Coast vibe where you have to walk through with your badge, you get it scanned, opens up the gates, all that fun stuff. But it is nicer this way because hopefully now it won't close. But yeah, so the lodge, way nicer. The chairlifts back in the day, it would take legitimately 30 minutes to get to the top of the mountain, whereas today the fast, it's a 6-person lift, or like 6 people would fit on the chairlift now, and it'll get you to the top of the mountain in, I'm pretty sure, like 6 minutes. It's super fast now. And then they have one other lift that takes you only halfway up the mountain, so a little different from back in the day when they had multiple lifts that would take you all the way to the top. Now they just have one that takes you to the top of the mountain, and then that second lift only takes you halfway up the mountain, and now that is the only night riding available, is only half of the mountain, which, once again, going back to only 4,200 feet of elevation, half of the mountain is not a lot of night riding, but hey, better than nothing. So anyways, now only 2 lifts. I didn't ride the magic carpet thing for the bunny slope, obviously, but I did see it. It's a nice little area for learning for sure. So if you're a newer rider, I think it would be a decent spot to learn. And then once again, you can take that lift that only takes you halfway up the mountain. I went on a Saturday, like right around New Year's, so very busy time of year to go riding. The whole mountain was open, which is crazy because once again, back in the day, they would like half the time not even blow snow. And so, yeah, it was just cool having the whole resort open. There were runs that I hadn't done in years because, once again, they never had them open. So, yeah, it was just cool having the whole resort open, all the slopes and runs open, and then chairlifts actually being fast and well-maintained and not falling apart like it did back in the day. So, yeah, so once again, upgrades, top notch, cannot no complaints there. Employees all super nice, all super friendly, very professional. Once again, when the main chairlift was closing, they had like a lady walking around with a microphone being like, the slopes will be closing in blah 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 minutes. So like, once again, very very well maintained now compared to back in the day. Also, the runs that they have now are all open, which is great. Once again, massive improvement from back in the day. And I would say that the runs are, good variety. They have, I'm doing air quotes again, double black diamonds all the way down to obviously bunny slopes. They do have a green run that I think might be one of the longest runs on like the entire East Coast. Don't quote me on that, but it is a really big green run on a snowboard, which I snowboard. If you're more like expert level of a rider or experience of a rider, that one's not very fun because you're going extremely slow. But it is a very long run for beginners, so that's nice. And then they do have a really fun blue called Twister. That one's a lot of fun, even on a snowboard, because you get a lot of good speed, good ride all the way down, and you get to go through like these cool little tunnels that they have. So yeah, runs are great. I mean, they're blacks, double blacks. I would not consider a real double black unless it's like an icy Mowgli day. But when we went, it was essentially like any other black, but still a lot of fun. Terrain park. We only went through the terrain park when I was there last time, I think 1 or 2 times, and unfortunately my GoPro was dead when I went through, so I don't actually have any footage of us going through that terrain park, but it was good, small, nice little terrain park with some fun hits. It had a nice jump, and so definitely, if you're into terrain park riding, I would not say this is like the best resort for that, but it is fun. And then a lot of green runs, a lot of good options there, and for like mid-east riding, a surprising amount of tree runs, because that is something that is very hard to come by. on the East Coast in general, especially the Mid-East, because there's obviously not a lot of snow out here. But surprisingly, they had like tree runs that you could do. Very slim coverage, but nonetheless, you could hit it. And so I would say like just from like a terrain for Mid-East standards, I would say is very good. Once again, you can't compare it to out West. It's just night and day different. But for Mid-East riding, and I'm not saying East Coast because obviously like Vermont, Maine, those resorts, once again, way bigger, way better, all that fun stuff. But once again, for Mid-East, it's pretty freaking good from in options. I'd say the only 2 resorts I've ever been to in the Mid-East that would be better from like an overall runs perspective would be Snowshoe and Seven Springs, which those resorts have their own pros and cons as well. But I would say this one rivals any other Mid-East resort from just like a run selection. As far as lodging goes, that's probably the biggest benefit if you're going to go to Snowshoe. It has like ski side or cabins that you can walk to and from the slopes, which is very rare to find in general at resorts, and then also even rarer to find at resorts at a price point that if you're under the age of like 60, you can actually afford to get a week in there with some buddies. They have like a lot of, I would consider very affordable housing options to being right there on the slopes. They also have a once again, new since I'd been there back in 2018, they have a new like hotel that's right down at the base of the mountain. That's moderately affordable. Me and my buddy were able to stay there for, I think it was like $250 with all the taxes and fees included. But once again, it was very nice in comparison. They also have in Davis, which is about 20 minutes from the slope, they have a place called the Alpine Lodge. You definitely get what you pay for, but it is only $99. The whole hotel motel thing kind of smells like smoke. It's kind of gross if I'm being completely honest, but it's $99. So you can't beat the price to be like right there down the road from the slope. So yeah, so like lodging wise, I think their lodging is probably one of the best lodging situations you can find at really almost any resort. Honestly, any resort ever, just because most resorts, either you can't find housing nearby, or if you can, it's outrageous. So I would say, a lot of great lodging. Like the lodging was what makes this resort incredible. Food selection, pretty good food selection. Now with the new management, the food at the slopes is solid or good enough. I mean, it's just overpriced normal food that you'd find at any other resort. And then if you drive into Davis, there's pretty good, kind of fun, like kind of small town vibes, like selection of food. I think it's solid. I would recommend it. There's a place called Hellbenders that me and my buddies always like to eat at. Also, going back to the Alpine Lodge, which for housing-wise is not the nicest place to stay, but they do have a place called Sawmill connected to it. That's their like breakfast joint. Top notch, so cheap, and actually incredible food. I got French toast there the last time I was there. French toast there is always fire. Their biscuits and gravy, always incredible. They have a breakfast sandwich, always phenomenal. So I would say food selection is very good at Timberline and the surrounding area. Also, as I mentioned before, just kind of like other cool stuff about the resort. First, I think I mentioned this earlier, but Canaan Valley, which is just another ski resort, not a super nice ski resort, but a ski resort nonetheless, is right down the road. So for some reason, this resort's Timberline's too crowded, you could just zip over there, or if not as much anymore, but back in the day when Timberline like wasn't blowing snow or had no runs open, you could go to Canaan. And so Canaan's nice for that reason. Also, there is, I say this because there's some resorts, specifically Snowshoe, where you have no cell service, which is extremely frustrating when you're trying to, one, get there and like have GPS service to figure out how to find the resort. But then also when you're with your buddies, it's like really hard to, if somebody, gets like broken up in the group, you can never find them again for the whole day. Because there's no cell service at Snowshoe, whereas here, there's really good cell service across the whole mountain, which is really nice. Also, honestly, one of weirdly my favorite parts about the entire resort is actually driving there. It is a super easy drive. You go down, it's called Route 48 apparently, Route 48. I think it's Route 48. And so this is a moderately new highway. I'm pretty sure the first time I went there was like a year or two after they like built this road, because the GPS was confused the entire time I was driving there. But it is the prettiest drive you'll ever drive, at least on the like Mid-East. Freaking gorgeous, just rolling through mountains, and there's not like a car on the road. Like, you'll be going, and I'll drive all the way there on like a powder day, and I'll see like 2 cars on that road. And that's like, you're probably on that road for, at least the way that I get there from Northern Virginia, you're on that road for an hour and a half. And so it just makes the drive there super easy, because there's a lot of resorts where you're going to the cut and you're just on these like backcountry roads, and it gets really sketchy, especially on like a powder day, whereas driving to driving to Timberline, Snowshoe, terrible drive. Timberline, on the other hand, such an easy drive, like the easiest you can get. So anyways, that's my full review. Now, as far as my rating of the resort, unfortunately, being a Mid-East resort, it would be impossible. It'd be impossible for me to rate this thing. There's just no way for you to, like, it's not even comparable to, you know, some of these like out west resorts, or even resorts up in like the Northeast, just because it's only 100 acres. Like, there's only 2 lifts. So you know, I can't give it a super high rating if I'm rating it, you know, on the same scale as like a Winter Park or Snowmass or Mount Bachelor. Like, it's just not comparable. But I would give this, you know, resort a 6.9 would be my rating. Which, once again, for Mid-East, it honestly might be the highest Mid-East. I'll have to go back to Snowshoe and Seven Springs and give like a full breakdown of those resorts. But I would say a 6.9 is beyond fair if I'm having it on the same scale as, you know, some of these out west resorts. But like that is a high rating, I should say. Like, it might be the highest rated Mid-East resort I have. Like, the only ones that would rival it, once again, would be Snowshoe and Seven Springs. And there might be a few other Pennsylvania resorts that are decent. But yeah, but once again, 6.9 would be my overall rating. If you appreciate me putting together this full review of Timberline, just smash the like button, hit the subscribe, and till next time, peace.